Welcome to the Big Screen Bowls podcast, a podcast where Caleb Kindle and Christian McCrite give their reviews and reactions to what's happening on the big screen. They talk about films, TV series, and other forms of media entertainment. Episodes are released every Monday. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast listening platform. Be sure to follow the show's Instagram page at Big Screen Bowls Podcast, where new hints and updates will be released about future episodes.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Big Screen Bowls podcast, where, of course, you have my Commander-in-Chief, Christian McCrite, here at the helm.
Good morning. Yes, I am at the helm of this ship right now.
We've got something great to talk about, and for once, it's not Game of Thrones.
The first thing that's not Game of Thrones related or Westeros related. This weekend.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. This weekend, we got to go to the Alamo Draft House in Springfield, Missouri, and we got to watch the new Black Adam movie. So today, we're going to give you kind of just our thoughts, reactions, and perhaps official review of this said movie. So this new movie is an addition to the DCEU universe. Starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Black Adam. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Caleb, what did you think about the movie as a whole?
I guess just overview of what I was able to see there. Action was really nice. We got to see kind of the Helm of Fate, correct name of it?
Yeah.
The Helm of Fate, we got to see it really in action and some of its kind of unique styles. It almost kind of like brought you in to be like, this is kind of like Doctor Strange. Just see Dr. Fate's side of that. We got to see a few others as well, too, that just had really cool effects behind all of it. Of course, Black Adam having Shazam, having some of the coolest powers, I think, out of any superhero I've seen beforehand, have the control of lightning, flight, super durability, super speed, all that good stuff. So action was great, but I really think this thing lacked on plot. For one,
it's a very simple movie.
Very simple. Two, I think it lacked on, I don't know, just like emotions that came into this as well, too. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson really kind of held this movie together with his acting. I think a lot of his supporting casts like weren't really there to help at all.
Yeah, it's kind of it literally sits on his shoulders.
Yeah,
the entire movie.
And he's usually good at doing that. He's usually good at kind of carrying movies for the most part, but this one I think it was a little bit more of a struggle just because, one, just how complicated a lot of the plot was, especially when we brought in the mercenary unit. We brought in the kind of the main villain, main antagonist, who becomes the champion of hell.
Yeah,
and then you have the Justice,
the Justice Society of America,
yeah, that's what it was.
The International Justice League of Super Acquaintances from SpongeBob. No, I wish. Then if they had that, this movie would be a 10 out of 10.
But that's kind of my first initial thoughts on it. We'll get more in the reviews and why I put it that low, and just go more in detail here.
So, but did you like it? Not like it? Just think it was kind of like
I'd probably put it in the middle. You know, I'll give official rating here at the end of it.
Sure.
Get people to listen to the whole thing, hopefully. But I don't know. And I hate to do this because I feel like they've overdid this so much. But like I almost compared it in some ways to kind of like some of the MCU universe movies of like Civil War and all that, where there's really more thinking behind it compared to good guy, bad guy, fight.
Yeah.
Kind of that mentality of things.
A lot of the DC movies are kind of like that. And eventually we'll get into actually like ranking all of the DCEU movies at some point in the near future. But I guess my overall thoughts on the movie is, I mean, I liked it for what it was. Do I think it's a great movie? No. Compared to the other DC movies, this is much better than most of them because it lacks in plot. To an extent, it's really simple, but it's almost too simple, and it kind of jumps corners a little bit. It cuts corners.
Yeah, that's, I think, another thing I just didn't say that.
Just to move it along.
Yeah.
Because it's very fast paced. This movie is nonstop. And some of the action, as you said, is super cool. the CGI looks great, actually. I think it looks really
I
good.
thought it did too. Yeah.
And I really love Dwayne The Rock Johnson as Black Adam. Now, like, he is now my like solidified icon of like, yeah, like this is Black Adam. This is kind of what I expect. His relationship like with like the people of Kahndaq is a very interesting one, because like he cares a lot about like this kid who's in the movie and his mom. And so like she's trying to convince him like, hey, like you're kind of a brutal guy. You sit here and kind of murder people with your electricity. But I think you have a good heart because you're the protector of Kahndaq. So you don't have to be a hero, but you can protect us, and that's good. But like he furthers this dynamic with the mother and the son, which doesn't make sense because he doesn't seem to care a whole lot about like the rest of Kahndaq as a whole. He just kind of sees himself as like the protector. And so I wish they would have like explored his like actual relationship with like more civilians and actually seeing him interact with the people of the city. I liked it for what it was. Plot was good. It strives to deliver a nonstop, action-packed, general, like superhero power movie, and it delivers on that end. But as you said, like the supporting cast is, some of them are really good, some of them are very strange, like the Cyclone and the Atom Smasher. Like the CGI is great for both of them. Also, the Atom Smasher's mask, I don't know if you noticed this, but it looks like almost identical to Deadpool's.
Yeah.
Almost identical, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, it's very strange, like support cast. And Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, I actually really liked him. I actually thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, Dr. Fate, I think was kind of well produced, and maybe that's where I get a little bit, I don't know if irritated is a word, but just of like, who should the character really be going into all this? And
right,
I think Dr. Fate, like that's Dr. Fate's character.
Yeah,
and then of course the helm of Fate is passed along to multiple different people, and it was worn by several than just one person too. So I think it was good that they lined that out. But I really wish I could have seen some history behind all of these characters before getting really into this.
This movie actually would have benefited from an extra 30 minutes. Actually, like this would have been a decently good 2.5 hour movie if you would have explored more of Teth Adams' relationship with the rest of the city of Kahndaq, like in modern day, and being able to explore the background a little bit more of these characters. That they kind of spew exposition just out of, like, this movie starts with somebody doing the voiceover narration, the voiceover like spewing exposition, and that can hit or miss for me. But I think this time it was kind of a miss. And I didn't like it, that part, as much. It felt too like it just kind of wanted to get on to the next fight scene. And that was kind of like it sacrificed a little bit of its own story and its own heart in order just to get to when's the next opportunity we can see Black Adam, kick the crap out of these losers or, electrify and burn some people. So,
and I think another thing that's just going to get on to my nerves with all this is just like when you actually know the history of Black Adam, like in the comics and stuff like that. And they come out with this movie and it's like it's very different. It's a 180 from what Black Adam was written to be as. Understanding Black Adam, it's almost like he's Captain Marvel, Shazam, whatever you'd like to call him as. He's exact same powers and all that, except he's experienced. He knows how to use the powers perfectly. And that's how he gets and that's, if you don't know the history behind Black Adam, that's what he was meant to be at first. He was meant to be kind of like the first main villain for Captain Marvel. They were able to fight it out. Eventually, Captain Marvel is able to trick him into saying the mighty word Shazam. He kind of kills himself, and that's the end of Black Adam. But when it was written kind of like this, it's, again, he knows everything about his powers. Smart, he's meticulous, all these different things. And I don't know, I just feel like kind of even his kind of character buildup was a little bit wishy-washy of, oh, I don't care anything about you at all, kid, blah, 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 get out of my way. I want to walk outside the door and stuff like that and then 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, it's, I will do anything to save this kid.
Yeah, it is kind of flip-floppy. And I guess I may not have understood correctly, but he seems to learn English like really quickly. I don't know if that's like just part of having his powers, but he just knows like perfect English and like modern slang and modern words. And that didn't make sense to me because they almost tried to do like the fish out of water thing where like he's still in Kondak, but he's in like a new world. It's 5,000 years later. But then like he goes and blows things up and he's not like integrated with society, but he talks like he talks like a normal person who's just confused. And that didn't make sense to me because I was like, where was the gap between like, dude, you've been asleep for 5,000 years. Like how do you know how do you know what the word catchphrase means? Like that probably wasn't, I mean, I don't know, but
and I know with some of his powers said he's got the wisdom of Solomon. So he's supposed to be,
that probably makes sense.
He gets like, he's super, super smart and super intelligent, but we've never really, and even in Shazam, they don't really bring that out too much, like to really show the true power sets of like, he could pick up on knowledge very, very quickly because he's endowed with the powers that he was given, that he's not just given strength and speed and all that, but he's also given the wisdom of Solomon. I have to look it up to get the exact piece of it, but
I don't think it's clearly defined what powers they necessarily get out of it. They both get electric powers, and the DCEU's Shazam movie is really good. I really like that movie. Can't wait for the second one to come out. But Billy Batson, when he transforms into Shazam, he's still Billy Batson. Like he still acts like he's kind of like a kid that's just trying to be mature. But when Black Adam, is Black Adam and he's gained all this wisdom and this power, he seems to have extra abilities or extra something that's very different. And they just didn't clearly explain that. Also, the kid, have you ever had that moment where like you're in the movie theater and you really wish that you would have seen it with subtitles? That was me because this kid talks so fast. He talked so fast and just was spewing out all sorts of stuff like, oh, this is the inner gang and these bad people and they oppress us and they do this. And he's like talking at this speed right here and he's constantly talking like this. And I'm like, where are the subtitles? Like, come on, man, I'm missing what he's saying. I had to kind of get past that, like, and kind of just fill in the gaps myself of, oh, this kid and these people are in danger and Black Adam has to be their protector. That's kind of what I got out of it.
Yeah. And even when they go and they find this crown and stuff like that, it seems like they don't even work that hard to find it. Like it's like, yeah, we just didn't walk into a certain cave. We found like the ancient crown of power. Yeah,
the whole plot is built around this thing called Eternium. And like back in the old days of Kondak, they used to mine for it. They had the slaves mine for it. And they built like a crown to summon demons and stuff like that. And it was very strange. Also, that was not clearly defined as what that was either. They had this like riddle where it was just like, life is the only path to death. And then they had to turn it upside down and mirror the letters. And it's like, death is the only path to life. And they don't explain that. It just is part of it. Yeah. It's really just for the main antagonist to get the Shazam like powers from like demons and then, well, have big CGI monster fight. But the fight was still pretty cool.
Yeah. You're saying, bro.
And the soundtrack's good too, by the way.
Yeah. Don't get us wrong. The soundtrack, action scenes and stuff like that. Again, the people that did the art on this did a really great job with it. But the writing, directing, could we say the same? I don't know. You said a little bit. It seems like the movie would have benefited for being a lot longer.
I think it would have. Yeah.
And I know DC's notorious for doing this with, like we saw with the Zack Snyder cut when it's becoming a lot longer and all that. Like, I feel like they're just like going through this. And it's like, oh crap, we filmed a 3-hour long movie. What's stuff we could just cut out to really get people's attention? And I could be wrong. That's how it was, if it was done like that at all. But it almost seemed like, it's like, do we really, like, they watched a 3-hour or 3.5 hour movie and it's like, that's perfect, but it's too long. We got to cut a bunch off of it.
And they spend a whole lot of time on the Justice Society of America, which takes away kind of the focus from Black Adam, who we're supposed to be following. So I feel like they could have added more emotion if they would have followed him more directly in what he's thinking and what he's doing, rather than just small scenes with him and switching between him and the JSA.
Yeah. And I think one thing they did well, though, at least just thinking about it now, and when you talk about Black Adam, the emotion, there at the end of the movie, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper into Black Adam and kind of his story of like he wasn't the hero.
That he wasn't the main champion.
Yeah, he was not the champion of conduct. It was his son.
Right.
At the end of the day. And he goes back, and when he gets to the top of this kind of that pyramid there, or palace, whatever it is, and he keeps looking at the statue throughout the time. And he keeps going up and looking at the statue, going up and looking at the statue. Everybody thinks like, oh, he's doing it out of vanity for himself because he likes to stare at this giant pillar of himself. But we learn he's just a regular.
He's wrestling with this idea that the statue wasn't built for him. The statue was built for someone who is more worthy of said position.
Yeah, his son. Yeah, and that's and it's one deal too. It's like you missed your son too, and your son's been gone for 5,000 years now, and your son deserves these power, or the person who's the rightful owner and the person you would have loved the most should have all that. And you're struggling with the fact to be brave enough, strong enough to take up this position when the rightful person gave it up for you.
Right. By the way, because we've been talking about spoilers for most of this whole thing, when it comes to the supporting cast, they lean a lot into like the relationship between Dr. Fate and Hawkman. Hawkman is one of the, I like him to some extent, but like he spends his entire time just being like, yeah, we're the Justice Society and we just need to take this Black Adam guy down. And he's kind of a jerk. And so it's almost like I can't really, and there is an interesting dynamic they pull out in the movie where like he's talking to the mom because her kid gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
And so she's like, okay, you, the Justice Society of Heroes, you say you're all about justice and being heroes, but like we've been under like oppression for like 25, 27 years and you guys never showed up. Like you can't just come in here and just dictate whatever and act like you've been around forever when we have our savior right here. She points to Black Adam, who they don't agree with the way that Black Adam is absolutely brutalizing people. And so she was like, you two need to work together and figure your problems out and whatever. And Hawkman's just not having any of it, but he's like, fine, whatever. And there's an interesting dynamic there between like someone saying from a civilian's perspective, hey, you call yourself heroes, but maybe you're not the hero that we want. Like we want Black Adam. We want someone who is willing to literally destroy our enemies. And so I do really like that aspect, but it makes Hawkman, his lack of a counter to that argument makes him seem like less of a character.
That, and you open it up to the DCU when you have like Batman versus Superman. He's killing people too. Batman is.
No, Batman's straight up murdering people.
Yeah, it's like, oh, so he's not a superhero then? Oh, okay, but he is a superhero then. But he's not part of the Justice Society.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's just a lot of this, like you make a double standard or triple standard or whatever it would be when you have to watch your competitor and Marvel really set up these expectations and set up these lines and keep to those rules, those laws, this plot, when DC just keeps failing on movies they have in the past, and now they're just trying to make up for it and reproduce a little bit what MCU did with all the camaraderie within characters and all that, when it's not as well done.
You can see that they're trying to, like, at first they just did the complete opposite of what Marvel was doing. Oh, well, Marvel did all their main hero stories first, and then they did the Avengers. So let's do like almost the exact opposite. Let's do Man of Steel. Then let's have Batman versus Superman that also includes Wonder Woman and Doomsday. And then let's do Justice League 2017 with Joss Whedon. What a mess. And add in the other characters that we'll just shove in the backstory to like about 5 to 10 minutes for each character in the movie and call it good. And then we'll do the Flash's movie, Cyborg's movie, all that stuff. We'll do that later. And we'll do like Wonder Woman's like kind of in between all of this stuff. So now you kind of see that they're trying to not copy Marvel, but like they are taking some inspiration from them now.
Yeah.
They're They're kind of bringing in some extra cameos in the movies. Their humor style is a lot different. I actually enjoyed a lot of the humor in this movie. I think some of it's pretty funny. I think after probably a couple rewatches, a few of the jokes would probably go stale, but it's funny enough. It made me chuckle a few times. There was nobody in the theater who like laughed out loud at any of the jokes in the movie.
Yeah,
but there was a handful of people that chuckled. I was like, that's fine by me. I have no problem with that.
Yeah. I don't know. And I know you like the humor in it. I don't know if I was just a giant fan of it. Like, I feel like the character Atom Smasher, like, I feel like they tried to like make him
like he was like the comic relief.
Yeah, they tried to make him the comic relief guy, and
he was the least funniest part of the movie, but yet they tried to make him the funny part. He did have like the funny interaction with like Hawkman, where like he keep messing up on something.
Oh yeah, that
like Hawkman would be like,
though.
"You and me, man, we're getting ready to have a talk." That part was funny, but all the other stuff just didn't work. I think I liked it when the movie took itself seriously enough, like it had the most serious tones to it. Yeah. That's when I got really drawn in, is because like Black Adam's a brutal character who, like, I want his movie to be like a darker and more brutal movie because that's just the nature of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's the truth of it. But I don't know, and even knowing DC, like growing up, like we got to watch like the Justice League, like cartoon version.
Yeah.
And you really do get to see more of their characters be built out, I feel like, in a cartoon compared to like watching it in front of a movie.
Yeah.
Like, and their characters for DC are like really, really complicated characters. And I feel like that's where they get themselves caught in the weeds here, is that like Batman, just like in general, is a very, very complicated individual. Bruce Wayne.
Extremely. Yes.
And there's multiple time periods when he's a completely different person. And we saw it within like the Justice League or Batman vs. Superman. We see him at a completely different time than you would see him like if he was been in the Dark Knight series and even the Batman that just came out recently.
Love that movie.
Yeah, and that was a really good movie too, because
it's so good.
That's early Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
That's young Bruce Wayne. What we see in Justice League and Batman vs. Superman, we see angry Bruce Wayne that just lost Robin. I forget which Robin it was, but it was the second Robin was killed, and he's going through a lot of grief and issues at the time. When those are very complicated character arcs that they were just able to skip to put it into Justice League,
right?
And Batman vs. Superman. So for the future, we gotta do a review on just the newest Batman that came out too. But
we do. That's definitely a movie worth talking about.
Yeah,
it is.
It's something in the way.
It's such a good song. But that movie on its own is definitely worth its own episode. Because unashamedly, from my end, it is my favorite Batman movie up to date. I've watched it 3 times. I watched it and then watched the Christian Bale Dark Knight trilogy right after, and then I watched the original 2 with Michael Keaton, and I preferred this new one. I just love the way it does stuff. And so anyways, but that's for a different time. What I want to talk about now, probably like one of the last things that we'll go over before we kind of give like an official like ranking or like an official stamp on this movie. Let's talk about that post-credit scene.
Okay, yeah, that's honestly like
huge spoilers ahead, by the way.
Yeah, and yeah, we've been doing it this whole time. And Christian, I don't know if your intent for this was to spoil it a lot, but
yeah,
okay,
yeah. So it was awesome. But I'll go ahead and let you say your thoughts first.
So you have a character, Black Adam, is debatably one of the strongest superheroes within the DCU. And you have, again, what would be her title? The lady that's kind of leads all the Justice Society. And
her name is Wallace.
Yeah, I know it's
Amanda,
Wallace, but
Amanda Waller. I don't know why I said Wallace. Amanda Waller. It's a good question. I don't really know what her actual title is. She's just some like super secret, like head of some secret governmental thing, and then she's over like the Suicide Squad, and she now has like a new place that's like underwater, which is pretty cool, where they like trap certain supervillains and whatnot. But anyways, yeah.
But yeah, no. Either way, though, like she comes in, of course, says a few things. I don't know if I really like the character that she is within all this, because like I feel like Batman's kind of supposed to have that role.
Yeah, kind of. But she like assumes like a position of authority.
Yep. But with all that being said, that's not the cool part of it. The cool part of it was Superman comes out.
Yeah.
His hair actually is different than...
It has the curl.
It has the curl. It's different than from the Man of Steel, and is able to say, hey, we need to have a talk to Black Adam. And again, you almost see a little bit of like anticipation on Black Adam's part of like, finally.
Yeah. So
something that's almost going to be
worth like a worthy challenge, which is such an interesting dynamic, because to explain the post-credit scene in its entirety is Amanda Waller. She sends like a drone down almost that projects like a hologram of herself to talk to Black Adam. And she's like, okay, you've caught my attention. So if you want to, Kahndaq, the city, can be your new prison.
Yep.
If you leave, we'll take you down. And of course he smirks and he's like, there's no one on this planet that can stop me. And she says, we have people from other planets. And he's like, okay. And he shocks the drone, blows it up. And from the smoke, they're like, is this caped man who descends from the sky, and it is revealed, as you said, to be Henry Cavill back as Superman. I was so excited because the few fights I've seen them partake in some of the comics, or at least some of the TV shows, have been super epic. And I think that, like, especially with two really good actors. I love Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Two great actors going head to head. It was so exciting for me. And that's really like realistically, it's one of the best things about the movie is this post-credit scene.
The future of what it's trying to build out. And I don't know, I do like it. At the same time, though, it's like, this is Shazam's fight. This is Captain Marvel's fight. This is he's Captain Marvel's
he's like anti-Captain Marvel. He's like anti-Shazam.
Yeah. They were meant to always fight each other, just because that's how it was all written and stuff like that Black Adam was meant to fight.
Yeah. I think it was more of like done for the speculation that like people thought that Henry Cavill was going to leave the DCEU.
Yeah.
And so I think that was just most of the reasoning behind that. It's like, we need to reintroduce him. Yeah. Otherwise people are going to keep thinking
he's just going to be the Witcher for the rest of his life.
Which I'm okay with. That's a good show. And maybe
Which
sometime which, I'm okay with that. And Henry Cavill, we love you. I love you. You are a great actor. I'm so glad that you decided to stick with this role. When I envision Superman now, he comes to mind. He has like that physique that just reminds me of Superman. Now, I hope they do his character a little bit more justice in the future. That's a different topic for another day. Yeah. But yeah, so that's the post-credit scene, and I think I'm ready to give my official rank of this film.
Yeah, I think I am as well too. I'd say out of 10.
Yeah, out of 10.
I'd give it 5 stars.
5 stars out of 10 stars.
5 stars out of 10 stars.
5 stars out of 10 stars.
3 rubber duckies out of 15 bathtubs.
Okay.
Try to make it whatever systems out there. But no, I'd say I'd give it 5 out of 10. I know it's going to be a lot lower than what you rated at, but I don't know. And I'm going to probably see it in the comments though. It's like, quit comparing DC to Marvel. Quit comparing DC to Marvel.
It's hard not to, because we live in such an overindulgent age of superhero comic book movies. It is very hard not to compare, because when one is so successful and you have another one that's like, oh, we also do superhero movies, well then you have to judge it on its own merit. But also, if you have multiple burger joints in a similar city, one of them is going to win out, because eventually people are going to know like which one's the best one, because they'll try them all out, and like like Wendy's, McDonald's, Steak and Shake, things like that. I mean, it's kind of like when you have such a large area of similar movies, eventually people are going to choose sides.
And another thing too is just like people are a lot more complicated,
right? Yeah,
than they were back like when comic books were made and stuff like that. And not to say like older people are simpler than us or something like that, but
no.
I just think media back then was just a little bit more simpler.
There was a lot of people who like they usually like back in the days. There were just people who liked comics, but there were mostly people who like those like really stereotypical nerds who picked one side of the comics or the other. They're either all DC or they're all Marvel. There's a ton of people like that. Some of them are still like that. But nowadays, the movies are much different because media and entertainment has evolved and progressed so much over time. It's so much more accessible and it's in a shorter time span. It's easier to digest than hundreds of comics. And so for us, like it's hard not to compare.
Yeah. And when you have a Thanos-like villain, and I don't even know what you could call the best supervillain in DCU right now. Well, you could put that in the ranking, but it's nowhere near the caliber.
Best villain in the DCEU.
Another podcast.
Probably Orm from Aquaman. I actually really like him.
Yeah.
If not that, then probably Steppenwolf from Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League. Yeah. Really cool. But anyways, 5 chairs out of 10 tables. No.
We'll get a better ranking system here. We'll put bowl.
We'll figure one out
like that.
3 baseballs out of I don't know. So I think on a scale of 10 stars, let's just go 10 stars for now. I'll give it a 7. I like it. I recommend that you go watch it. I probably wouldn't see it in the theater more than once. I think one good showing is good. It's got some really cool visual effects and it's got some great fight scenes. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's charisma carries this movie. There's a couple of good
and action scenes, of course. Like when
he's brutalizing people, it's really entertaining.
Oh yeah, that's it's almost like it almost shocks you at first. Like, oh, this is going to be a darker movie.
Yeah, he grabs this guy. He grabs this guy like in the beginning of the movie, whenever he's comes out of his prison of sorts, and he immediately electrifies this guy. And they show like everything. Like this guy like goes from man to dust, and loved it. And so super cool stuff. Yeah, I would give it a 7 out of 10. It's got good visuals. I like a lot of the soundtrack, really worked for me, but the supporting cast has some hits and misses. Dr. Fate was a definite hit.
Yep.
A few of the others were kind of a miss.
The Hawkman could have been a hit. Like, I liked his power.
Yeah, he was okay.
His power set was kind of cool. Like he's got this. I wish it kind of would explain a little bit more, but he has the mace, of course.
He has the potential to be an interesting character later on.
Yeah, I think he deserves his own solo.
Yeah,
for sure.
And there's a little bit it lacks in the emotional department, and because of that, it's hard for me to get attached to this movie a little more. So I think it's a solid 7 out of 10. I think it's better than about 50% of the other DCEU movies. But I think there's still a few that I like better than this one.
Yeah.
But yep, that's our stamp on it.
Yeah, no, and thank you guys for coming and watching our first superhero overview that we've ever made. So
please go watch the movie. Go watch it in theaters. Support the people who make stuff like this. It is very important that we keep going to theaters and supporting the people who make this kind of content.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if we don't support the people who make this content, we're going to lose it. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's mediocre, whatever it is, I still gave it a 5. I'll still give it a 5 out of 10, and I will still say you should watch a movie even if it's a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, go experience it.
Yeah, because I could
formulate your own thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. I could be a complete idiot too. Well, no, I don't. I am a complete idiot. That's
same.
But again, thanks everybody for coming and watch our first and ever talking about more of the superhero universe. We're going to have a lot more coming into the MCU, DCU, and everything in between. And as always, Christian, what does it take to become a bull?
Go follow our Instagram page at Big Screen Balls podcast, where we will give new hints and updates to future episodes, and follow us on Spotify or Amazon Music, and sooner or later, perhaps other streaming platforms.
Yep. Apple is coming up in the pipeline as well too. It's just they're a little more meticulous on how they approve podcasts. So we'll be on Apple Podcast here probably within a week or so. I'm saying this on October 23rd.
Yep. So
2022, just in case we ever
become
get 20 years in the future and doing this.
Right. Become a part of the Bowl Nation.
Hashtag Bowl Nation.
Hashtag Bowl Nation.
Have a good one, guys and gals and bowls.